and welcome to Oceania Weekly. I'm Stephanie Greenfield. A health expert says it was only a matter of time when measles cases appeared in Waikato. 3 cases have been confirmed in the region as the Auckland outbreak hit 731 confirmed infections. Waikato District Health Board says the risk of further cases is high. Last Thursday, the Auckland Regional Public Health Service recorded another 31 cases. Almost all of them were in the county's Manukau District Health Board region. It's the biggest outbreak in New Zealand this century and mirrors an increase in cases worldwide. The World Health Organization's Immunisation Director, Kate O'Brien, said that we are seeing misinformation as an increasing threat. 5 new 5G mobile sites are now live in Auckland in preparation for Vodafone launching its upgraded network in December. The upgraded sites have been made live for network testing. There are also a further 95 sites scheduled to be operational by the time 5G is switched on for the public in December. The 5 new upgraded sites, including 5G-enabled antennas, are located in and around Mangere in South Auckland. According to Vodafone, the 5G network will enable 10 times faster speeds in 5G smartphones compared to 4G. The mobile network will first roll out in Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch and Queenstown. Media company NZME has reported a big drop in profit and revenue as it continues to focus on developing digital revenue streams and building subscriber numbers. NZME made a net profit of $950,000 in the 6 months to June, down 73% on the year earlier. Underlying profit was also down 14.5% to $4.7 million. This excluded the impact of accounting changes. NZME, which owns the New Zealand Herald and the News Talk ZB radio network, reported revenue was down 4% to $181.4 million. Despite the shrinking revenue, the company remained upbeat about the future. Log prices have improved slightly after falling to their lowest level in 4 years. And nervousness over its trade war with the United States pushed prices down by 25% to their lowest point in 4 years. Agri HQ forestry analyst Reese Brick said A-grade logs, which were considered the benchmark grade, had been sitting at around $145 to $150 per Japanese agricultural standard cubic metre for 6 months. However, in the space of 2 weeks, they fell sharply to $105. Brick said the wider forestry industry was still feeling the strain from the recent Chinese log price readjustment, but said prices had recovered slightly, helped by a small decrease in port-level inventories. Latest figures from August showed A-grade log prices were now sitting at $110 per Japanese agricultural standard cubic metre. An advocate for the refugees being held in Australia in Papua New Guinea and Nauru is concerned about the fate of the men moved into the new facility in Port Moresby. 42 refugees from 2 compounds on Manus Island were transferred to Port Moresby last week. David Main of Refugee Legal said 53 asylum seekers were already incarcerated at the Bomana detention facility. He said there have been no reasons given for why this action has been taken. Main provides legal representation for some in the group and has not been able to speak with his clients for some time. He said that he is extremely concerned about their situation. The Australian government has confirmed that Chinese-Australian writer Dr. Yang Hengjin has been formally arrested on espionage charges in China after months of detention. The Australian Foreign Ministry said that Yang has been held in Beijing since January under harsh conditions. Australian Foreign Minister Marise Payne said Australia was very concerned and disappointed to learn of the arrest. She said the government has serious concerns for Dr. Yang's welfare and the conditions under which he is being held. Dr. Yang, who is a novelist and a former Chinese diplomat, had lived outside his home country for more than a decade. Thousands of Papuans took to the streets for a second week of mass demonstrations. The last 10 days have seen some of the largest public mobilisations in Indonesia's easternmost regions for years, with tens of thousands taking to the streets across Papua and West Papua provinces. Dozens have been arrested and there has been rioting in some areas, with the Parliament building in Manokwari destroyed. More than 1,000 police and military personnel have been deployed to bolster an already significant military presence in the region. There were reports that up to 6 people were killed when the military opened fire on a rally in the Dejeh Regency. At least 3 others were injured, and the military had said that 1 soldier had been killed. Indonesia has announced plans to move its capital from the climate-threatened Jakarta to the sparsely populated island of Borneo. President Joko Widodo said the move was necessary because of the burden on Jakarta was too heavy. However, environmentalists said the $33 billion relocation needed to be carefully handled, otherwise it would result in leaving one ecological disaster only to create another. As well as dire problems of pollution and traffic congestion, Jakarta suffers from severe subsidence, which makes the coastal city extremely vulnerable to the rising sea levels. Poor urban planning on land that was originally a swamp, along with unregulated draining of aquifers, has left 40% of the city under sea level. The worst affected neighbourhoods are reportedly sinking 10 to 20 centimetres per year, one of the fastest rates in the world. A study indicates that hormone treatments could have caused breast cancer in around 1 million women since 1990. The Meta study reviewed data from 58 earlier studies and found an increased risk of breast cancer for women taking hormone replacement medicines for menopause. The data showed that for every 1,000 women who used menopause hormone therapy, 83 got breast cancer, whereas only 63 in every 1,000 got breast cancer in the group that did not use the hormone therapy. The researchers found the risk was higher for medicines combining 2 hormones and was twice as high for women who used the treatment for 10 years compared to 5. Indian economic growth slumped to a 6-year low of 5% in the April-June quarter. According to the Indian government report, it was because of a sharp deceleration of manufacturing output, as well as subdued activity in farming and construction. Chief Economic Advisor K.V. Subramanian also attributed the slowdown to global trade tensions. The sale of new cars also dipped 20%, raising fears of a deep slowdown. Subramanian said the Indian government is taking various steps to boost economic expansion. India's central bank said reviving consumption and private investment would require greater spending on infrastructure and structural changes, including labour law, taxation and legal reforms. India's GDP growth averaged 7.7% from 2014 to 2018. The New Zealand Nepal Society celebrated Tej Festival last Saturday at Freeman's Bay Community Centre. The festival welcomes the monsoon season. It is celebrated primarily by girls and women with songs, dancing and prayers. This year, New Zealand Nepal Society President Dinesh Khadkar and his team recognised the women who have contributed to the Nepal Society, both here in New Zealand and in their home country. The award is called the Nari Shakti Award, which means Empowered Women. The awardees were Dr. Jagamaya Shrestha Ranjit, who had made educational and development programs for Nepal Society, Diane McKinnon for her valuable contributions in helping the lesser privileged in Nepal, and Archana Shrestha for Nepal Youth Empowerment Programs. This was the second time that they have held such a beautiful festival in Auckland. The festival was successfully graced by multicultural leaders and groups, such as Priyanka Radhakrishnan, the Parliamentary Private Secretary to the Minister for Ethnic Communities, MPs Michael Wood, Dr. Deborah Russell and Dr. Parmjit Parmar, as well as Lady June Hillary, Mike Gill, John Loof from the Himalayan Trust and many more. The Tej Festival featured Nepal cultural dances and songs. Members wore their best dress and suit and a winner was announced during the event. Now we're going to cross over to Voice of America.
Just 2.5 seconds of distraction can become dangerous on the road. One Silicon Valley company says it has the solution, a way to be an extra eye for a driver by using cameras, sensors, image recognition software, and real-time alerts.
Distracted.
So we'll alert the driver that he or she is distracted. Then the driver is able to look up, maybe notice that traffic has stopped in front of them, slam on the brakes, and avoid that very common rear-end crash.
Nauto's device sits behind a vehicle's rear-view mirror and comes with cameras and other sensors.
So you can see here there's an interior camera that faces the driver and then an exterior camera that faces the road ahead. And we're running algorithms to detect high-risk behaviors.
That behavior could be falling asleep behind the wheel, tailgating, or checking a cell phone.
It'll issue a series of progressive alerts based on how distracted they are.
Looking down.
So that's the first one.
Distracted.
And there's a second one.
Nauto's device is in more than 200 fleets of trucks, taxis, and ride-sharing services. But what about driver privacy? Nauto says the device only reports to headquarters if something happens, like a crash.
It's not a surveillance device, right? A fleet manager can't log into our system and just stare at a driver, right, and watch them for 8 hours of their driving day. So if the driver is driving well and there's no events, then there's nothing that gets uploaded and reported in the system.
Nauto is collecting a lot of data about human driving patterns, which it sells to autonomous vehicle companies. So the drivers of today are teaching the self-driving cars of the future.
Distracted.
Michelle Quinn, VOA News, Palo Alto, California.
Thank you for joining us here at Oceana Weekly. I will see you next week.